Okay, so it looks like Jordan Peterson's new website, which is this platform that is essentially it is an alternative to Patreon. And this is because there were some people who got banned off of Patreon.com. Patreon, obviously, you guys know what that is. I'm not going to explain it to you. Carl Benjamin, aka Stargon of Akkad, was banned from Patreon. I believe Lauren Southern had gotten banned from it a long time ago. And I honestly forget if there were any other figures that were banned from Patreon that had led to this move. But I believe, remember Carl Benjamin being the biggest one. And so this led the team up of Dave Rubin and Jordan Peterson to figure out a new platform. Find a platform where you truly fight for free speech and free expression. And nobody gets banned, except for in certain circumstances, which, we will go ahead and get into. Now, the one thing, and I'll say this in the beginning, I'm a little bit confused as to whether or not Dave Rubin, if this is Dave Rubin's announcement as well. Like, so you guys remember we did a video on this. Dave Rubin announced that he's gonna create his own app where you can create your own, you can have your own audience or something. Or you can make your own app. It didn't even make any sense. Okay, it made zero sense. But I don't know if that is ThinkSpot or if that's a separate thing. And if that's a separate thing, that makes it even more interesting because then that kind of means that they have like competing products, which makes it sort of interesting. But as what we know of right now, Jordan Peterson has opened up his ThinkSpot, which is already honestly quite a terrible name, if I do say so myself. But as you can see up here, okay, this is a article from what I believe is called Gizmodo. And it's an article where it actually gives us a tour through it because I would go to the website and show you the stuff on the website, but the problem is it's in a beta right now, and so you have to be selected. I don't even know what the selection process is, but I think that you can send invites or something like that, like 10 free invites or something. But I couldn't get into the website as of right now, so we're looking at this article to show you what kind of stuff it is. First thing that I noticed, their logo is the worst logo on the planet. I mean, it's literally just a lowercase t and s and a dot, period. Looks really, really bad. I mean, even if they just made it an uppercase T and a lowercase s, it would look a lot better. But it does not seem like there's been much time going into the logo. Definitely doesn't seem that way. So, what I want to do here is I want to quickly read you this free speech statement. I know it's going to be a little bit lengthy. I'm going to try to get through it as fast as possible. So, it says free speech statement, okay? At ThinkSpot, we believe that the lifeblood of the great democratic project is ensconced foremost in ideas and the uninhibited articulation of thought. The innate human affinity for inquiry, reflection, and opinion are natural complements to the concept of ideas. Yet the battle over their latitude in society seems to be so eternal. So while ideas intrinsically are essential to our existence, it is the context with which they exercise influence that holds equal, if not greater, significance. It is our team's conviction that without fertile ground for free expression, our purest exhibition of free will congeals into a reductive calcification, whereby misleading rhetoric is weaponized by autocrats, monoliths, and those who privilege power over principle. We at ThinkSpot remain convinced that it is therefore our obligation as participants in a self-deterministic and open society to preserve the fundamental values that reinforce the proliferation of unconstrained human expression. Without this foundation, ideas lose their place at the front lines of our fight to maintain freedom, where skepticism and debate help to sharpen the blade of progress as we put our most crucial assertions to the test. In this moment, we are concerned about the internet's role in the information media environment. The gradual erosion of the principles that gave birth to such an earth-shaking phenomenon has begun to exact its toll on the social, political, and cultural spheres that are indelibly intertwined with the internet's very existence. What has typically prevailed as a public sphere for the public good has now been negatively influenced by private interests, facilitating an ecosystem where ideology and dogma undermine first-order principles in the name of profit and self-preservation. And then I'm actually going to skip that next one. It says, we would like to be unequivocally clear. The ethos of the ThinkSpot mission derives from a deep reverence for the First Amendment, and the platform's terms of use and company policy reflect this. We believe in the power of competing ideas and the imperative of an open and transparent space to facilitate civic discourse without pressures from mainstream media arbitrary corporate terms of service, special interest groups, and advertisements. Advertisers from launch, ThinkSpot will advocate for these principles by protecting speech that falls within the protection of the First Amendment and by refusing to give in to outside pressures that seek to limit free speech. So, as you can tell, that statement there is incredibly wordy, overly wordy, extremely overly wordy. It's very, the perfect word for this, I think, is just kind of douchey, is the way that it comes off to me. It's really cringe, too. It's painting this weird, like, sort of, like, movie-like scenario of there's a battle on the front line of free speech and ideas. And it's the same garbage we hear. It's super, super cringe. Super, super, super cringe. Really, really cringe, okay? Incredibly, like, oh man, the front lines of what's going on with ideas. It's just like, dude, it's super cringe. They're they think that they're so much more important than they really are in what they do. It's pretty remarkable to me. But, as you can see, they are attempting to say that, we're all about the First Amendment, and that's going to be their goal. So, they're essentially going to attempt to allow everything that's allowed under the First Amendment, and basically, everything that doesn't, break any sort of, First Amendment, law, So, that's what's going on here. Now, apparently, you had to pay. ThinkSpot offers two types of subscriptions. It says platform. Subscribe to the platform to unlock special features, such as unique posting privileges, curated content, exclusive subscriber-only live, and recorded events in all forums on the platform. The other one says Contributor Plus Platform. It says subscribe to individual contributors to access their exclusive content such as live Q&As, newsletters, annotations, and subscriber-only events. The platform plan is included in all individual contributor plans. And then there's a button here that says continue without subscription. So I guess you can be on the site without a subscription, but seems to be mostly a subscription platform is my understanding. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Okay, so these are the individual contributors who are as of right now on ThinkSpot. Okay, there's one of these that should surprise you. Okay, there's some dude named Bjorn Lomborg, whoever that guy is. I did briefly, look him up. I guess he's some sort of right winger. Another person whose name is Akira the Don. Don't know who that is. Michael Shermer is like the skeptic guy who I don't even know. His politics seem to fall sort of right wing, sometimes centrist and things like that. But the shocker comes in David Pakman. That's really weird. I was like, what? And it's weird because obviously he's sort of the only one of his element here. There are multiple right wingers here. David Pakman is the only left winger. Then there's Jordan Peterson, Stephen Hicks, and somebody named Bettina Arndt. Oh, I don't know who that is. But yeah, it looks like David Pakman is for some reason included in this, which means that David Pakman has agreed to join the platform. You can, get a membership for just $30 a year. It's half off. And so the role that it looks like David Pakman is filling here as of right now is the token. He's like the token lefty on the platform. Now, and David has not spoke about this. He has not told us anything about this. He has not made an announcement saying, hey guys, I'm on Jordan Peterson's new platform, ThinkSpot. This is why. He hasn't said anything about it. In fact, it almost seems like there's like a specific attempt to dodge that and to not speak about his decision to do this. I don't know if he plans to speak about it. I don't know if he's going to speak about it. But what I do know is he said nothing about this. I think that, there were people who were, defending his decision to do this. I think that it's really weird to me that he would, join this platform. It seems really odd to me that you would sort of give your credence and your name to a platform run by massive grifter Jordan Peterson. By the way, I know that one of the individual contributors from the other one that I saw, the other picture that I had seen, was actually his daughter, Michaela Peterson, and that one's in this one right here, who's another grifter. She has no real scientific evidence or any degree or anything, but she says stuff like, her meat-only diet cured her arthritis, which is insane, kind of claims to make. So, obviously, grifting runs in the family. But, why would you give your credence and your sort of, your A-OK, etc., to a platform that's being run by Jordan Peterson and is really just sort of going to be a safe haven for right-wingers. Now, the question becomes, what's going to happen with this ThinkSpot platform, right? The question becomes, is ThinkSpot going to turn into a platform that's just full of, like, crazy right-wingers? And you know the type of right-wingers that I'm talking about, right? We see with the stuff with the Fuentes guy and those folks, right? Because the whole point of this platform here is to, attempt to fully abide by the First Amendment and not ban anybody, okay? So the question is, are they really going to be able to succeed in that? Because to me, I don't see how that's possible. You're eventually going to have to do something once you start getting flooded, which is an inevitability. They could be flooded by communists. They could be flooded by Chapo Trap House guys. They could be flooded by, the crazy right-wingers. You know what I'm saying? I have a hard time believing that this platform will really be able to stand up. But I don't understand why on earth you would join this platform. But the reason I do know why. It's because David Pakman, he sees it as another revenue stream. Now, there's nothing wrong with, and it's obviously a very normal thing and typical thing to, plug your Patreon and stuff like that. But as you guys know, David Pakman kind of takes that to the, 9 trillionth power. You know what I'm saying? So he kind of does that pretty overboard. But I question a lot of David's decisions that he's been doing recently. Sort of starting with his decision to, do that whole thing with the Ayn Rand Institute, and he's doing, shady advertisement runs with, really shady Bitcoin company or whatever. He does a lot of odd stuff, and this is certainly another one. I mean, you obviously don't see any other lefties on here. He's the only one there. And some people will try to white knight and cape for him. I'm not really sure what would motivate you to do that. I've seen some people try and say, oh, he's providing an alternative voice on there, which is not true. None of them are going to actually go to, his content. They're not going to pay for his content, A, obviously. And B, he's, him lending his credence to the platform is a disservice in and of itself. And pretty embarrassing, to be honest. Pretty darn embarrassing. Something else that was noticed by some guy on Twitter. He says, I was taking a look at the code behind Jordan Peterson's ThinkSpot, and something caught my eye. It looks like contributors, creators you pay an annual fee to subscribe to, have the ability to block you from commenting on their posts. I thought this was for free speech. Now, I don't know how to read, I guess this is JavaScript. I mean, it seems, some pretty basic stuff here. But, it looks like this code shows that you can, contributors can, let's say David Pakman can block trolls from commenting. So, doesn't really look like all that much of a free speech platform, eh? Now, there was also something really hilarious that had actually happened. So, they made a mistake because they didn't do any vetting of usernames in the beginning. So here's what it looked like. Someone took the name Tim Pool. Someone here took the name Tim Pool. And he says, does anyone want to have a sniff of my beanie? And then someone had the Rubin report, and he says, I've smelt it. Smells of ideas. And then, it just has more of these. Sargon of Akkad is a fake Sargon. It says, yes, I think Dave is secretly engaging in cultural Marxism here. And there looks like there's a couple of more of these. Some stuff about Tim Cass is another channel name of Tim Pools, and it's him, saying that he has some relations with with raw meats at his local supermarket. Now, what did end up happening with this is apparently they did ban those users and say you need to change your name. So I just thought that was pretty funny as well. But overall, is this going to be a super successful platform? I don't really know. It doesn't really seem very interesting. It's just kind of a Patreon alternative. And so I'm sure certain people will go over there, but how many will go over there, I really don't know. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on this down below. Very curious to hear them.